Tell me, let's talk a little bit, maybe some about the strategies you're implementing today. What can proprietors take away, or what are some key tips that you have for customer
Okay, sure.
acquisition or some of the stuff you're working on?
Yeah, and to kind of go back a little bit on the USB-C stuff, I learned a lot there. One thing, BPA itself really does have a lot of good ideas and business development tools, but a lot of them are dated, right? And so very
Yeah,
similar to when I was speaking back in 2000 about websites. I think today, fast forward, I think most proprietors have a website. We could debate if they're optimized and they're best, but I think they
sure.
as a whole understand it. Now, it's paid ads, Facebook. It's no longer just post and people will see it.
Right.
And so I think people are like, Facebook doesn't work. So they have to understanding that, what is it, like less than 5 or 6% of your stuff that you just post
It's
even shows
two.
to your two. So it even continues to shrink, right? So much noise out there. And so really understanding paid ads, that Instagram, Facebook, TikTok is showing some traction for the right demographics. And so
Yeah.
things like that. And then I think that proprietors in general seem to get a pretty steady flow of leads from if you ran ads. What I see on the back end is there's a lot of missed and lost opportunity,
Yeah.
whether that means that calls are going to the front counter and they're just not
We're
getting
not
answered,
getting, yeah,
or
at
not getting
all.
or picked up or not
Right.
getting follow up. And being like a digital marketer myself, kind of think you're the same way, right? That there's a lot of automation that you can leverage in an industry that our industry just has not really gotten wind to yet. And I think
Right.
as we see where it's going to grow, it may take the early adopters to kind of get in, but there's no reason with technology that exists today that a proprietor couldn't streamline operations and kind of close those leaks in their bucket.
Mhm. Yeah,
So I
and
think,
it's a shame because it's really throwing out money essentially, because you're spending money on marketing and you have these leads come in, and if you don't call them or you don't follow up with them or call them a couple of times, you're
yep,
really just putting money down the drain.
exactly.
The average center calls their leads maybe once, and if they don't answer, they don't follow up again. But studies show that 6 times is the optimal to reach
Yep.
out. Is you get a 90% contact rate, and then the speed is another one, because the studies show that it drops off a 90% contact rate after like 5 or 10 minutes. So if you can call them within 5 minutes, you have a 10 times as high likelihood of connecting with them and closing that deal.
Sure, I agree with that 100%. Like, especially here, like in the Dallas market. Let's say that you're like a birthday mom, and your kid wants to have a party like an arcade or a bowling center, and so you may get on Google or you may go to a website, and here there's probably half a dozen
Oh yeah.
competitors that a family would have within 20 minutes. And if you miss that chance and the seed is planted, I mean, it's pretty much a lost thing. Maybe you'll get them the next year, but it's kind of heartbreaking. But to me,
Yeah.
also, one thing I'm seeing, it's interesting times right now because you're hearing people talk about like recessions coming, recessions coming. We've all survived through COVID somehow, and rebound was just awesome, right? But if you think about it, it's really been since 2008 or 9 in our economy that there really was any kind of slowdown, right? And so I think a lot of proprietors, like when the wind is behind your back, you can't help but have strong sales, right? So I don't know a
Right.
proprietor in the industry that was not up from the
Yeah.
post COVID rebound, right? Everybody was
Hmm.
killing it. And so the question is, was that just a matter of luck and the industry and the consumer? And so, like, what
Hmm.
happens when consumer spending does slow down and that people are kind of watching their thing, and all of a sudden you've got to work a little harder to get those
Yeah.
dollars? To
Hmm.
me, I'm thinking forward looking, like our industry, do they have plans in place? Because like they say in the Bible, like you better put some, what does it say, put stuff aside for the feast
Yeah.
and famine, right?
Dig your well, right?
That it could be a little challenging environment, and the ones that have good practices, good tactics, good
Hmm.
lead generation, good follow through, they're going to be fine. But the guys that just rely on people walking in the doors, or they think that an organic
Hmm.
post magically brought people in, I think
Right.
those are the guys that got to make sure their game gets sharp, because I think we're
Right.
going to come into some challenging times here soon.
Yeah. If you live by the economic tide, then you die by the economic tide, right?
I mean, I saw the .com era, right? When everything was .com,
Right.
everybody, and then all of a sudden it
Mhm.
busted, and it's like who was left
Yeah.
to stand after
The
that?
people
So,
with legitimate businesses are the ones who
hmm,
stood. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting. And it's not like a crazy amount of stuff to do. It's really fundamentals type of stuff. Having a database in place, having a few of those automations you talked about. It's not like some crazy, you got to hire a developer to come up with this stuff. It's pretty fundamental. It's just like anything, like good customer service or good experience. It's just the fundamentals over and over again.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And it's interesting
Hmm.
too, right? We've got the robots in the workforce now coming in. I think both Brunswick and Cubica both have the kiosks out, and so I think the my generation is even adopting to using of touch kiosks and things like that, right? I mean, certainly the younger generations already are embracing it and everything, but
Yeah.
to me, it's going to be interesting to see like how that evolves. To me, customer service means know my name, thank me, make sure service is like following the steps of service. But I think a lot
Hmm.
of the like the self-service generation that orders a Starbucks coffee on an app and wants to walk inside and have it right there with their name on the thing and be out, honestly,
Hmm.
sometimes without talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's kind of interesting to see how that's going
Ease
to,
of use.
evolve, right? That maybe there'll be a time where there's not even a front counter, where you just basically, and that's defined as good service. That's which is kind of
Hmm.
interesting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you see the web reservations taking off for
Yeah.
the centers that can handle it or work that into their operations. And especially with the younger generation, it's heavily preferred. They don't want to call in. They don't want to talk to people. They want to book it online, have their shoes ready on the counter when they walk in and get to it.
Yes. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. And who would have thought? I mean, if we were talking a couple years ago, would you think that so many proprietors would be having, like web reservation systems built into their websites? I mean, so we're catching up, right? We're catching up. I'm curious to see
Hmm.
what kind of cool tools are going to be at Expo this year to see if there's any new latest and greatest technology that's coming into our
Hmm.
industries.
Yeah, I have to say I've definitely seen a big speed up in maybe the last 18 months or so. Out of the 2 or 3 years that I've been in the space, I've seen a much greater adoption of technology, a lot quicker than maybe even, like I said, 18, 24 months ago. Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.